Hey everybody, it's Glenn, and this is Confessions of an ebayaholic. Before I get stuck into eBay purchases of the last 7 days, I just want to give you a quick update on my weapon arms apocalypse, which the idea of which I let you all in on my last episode of Confessions, and which many of you no doubt will have checked out the video including that idea, showing off the fruits of my labour. Here he is. And the update I want to give you, I have reinstated the articulation at this wrist, 360 degrees. When I showed him off in the video, that joint was fixed. It's just sometimes customizing, you get too close to see the wood from the forest. It's hard to be objective, and sometimes it takes a couple of days to get that objectivity back, and I'm not happy with my customs unless they're the best figure I can possibly make them be. And over the last couple of days I kind of realised how important this articulation here is in the overall posing of this figure, whereas primarily when I started it, adding these additions onto the arms, I was most concerned with making them secure, so that when posing they wouldn't, snap off. And when I finished the arms and put them on the figure, like I said, it took a while for me to realise that the figure really would benefit if it did articulate here. So voila, Weapon Arms Apocalypse is officially finished. First of this week's eBay purchases is Age of Apocalypse AOA Sunfire. I've had my eye on this figure for a while now, largely because I am a huge Age of Apocalypse fan. If you've not read the Age of Apocalypse saga, I do recommend you check that out. It is available in trade paperback, I'm sure. For those of you who don't know, the Age of Apocalypse turned the X-Men universe on its head entirely. Imagined a world where Charles Xavier died before he formed the X-Men. So Age of Apocalypse deals with the consequences of a world without Professor X, and a lot of the characters were not only radically redesigned in the way they looked, but also redesigned in their character. So you had characters like Magneto and Sabretooth being X-Men. Meanwhile, you had characters like Cyclops, who in regular continuity is known as the Goody Two-Shoes, yet in Age of Apocalypse is a servant of Apocalypse. So I'm a fan of Age of Apocalypse, and Sunfire here was one of the strongest characters from Age of Apocalypse. I mean, I think the design of this character is awesome. The flames, and then this kind of the black armor detail with the Japanese rising sun mask. And it was interesting that they took a kind of Sunfire, essentially in regular Marvel continuity, is a kind of also-ran character. He's, was briefly an X-Men member, kind of pops up periodically, but hasn't really been involved in anything pivotal. So when Age of Apocalypse came along, I just fell in love with Sunfire here. And this Sunfire was never released as a regular Legends. It was actually, I believe it was selected from a number of prototypes that Hasbro knocked up for a Toy Fair feature. I think there was a Magneto in there, Lilandra, North Star, Aurora, a classic Storm, And basically readers of Toy Fair picked their favourite, ended up being Sunfire here, and Hasbro made Sunfire available through their Hasbro toy shop, which is cool, and I wish, Hasbro had continued to do that in the way that Matty Collector does with its Masters of the Universe figures and Ghostbusters figures. It would be cool if Hasbro had offered a monthly figure to collectors, had, even though it's pushed the kind of 3 3/4 inch scale figures in its Marvel Universe and the various movie lines, it would be cool if they had kept the 6-inch scale alive through a collector's monthly option through its website. I just think that would have been a cool idea for them to pursue. I realise that kind of operation is a drop in the ocean in terms of the profits it would produce for a big company like that, but ultimately cultivating a collector base is the longevity of any line, and I think it would have paid off in the long run had they had done that. I'm just going to give you a bit of a closer look of Sunfire here. This Sunfire does use the same mould as Quicksilver, Moon Knight, Star from Legendary Comic Book Heroes, and I think Yellow Jacket has this mould. It's one of the more common bodies of Legends figures used, but it's a good one. It's one I often use as base figure for custom action figures because it's a very neutral body. And I would say, whenever I buy a figure, I do always look at pictures online, look at reviews on YouTube, and I would have to say this figure here, having received it and having him in person, is actually a lot better than it looked in the videos that I saw. And I'm sure, likewise with my video, you might be thinking, meh. But in person he looks a lot better. Has a lot of posability to it. Early enough in Hasbro's run on Legends that they were still keeping figures posable, so it has kind of the ankle swivel, which I think is kind of important articulation to have. You can get him in some decent poses. And the only downside I would say to this figure is, for a flying character, it's a bit dumb that it doesn't have a hole for a flight stand in the back. But that's something I'm going to easily remedy, and I'm sure by next week's episode I'll be presenting, representing Sunfire here to you in flight mode, so stay tuned for that one. So that's Sunfire. 2 thumbs up for Sunfire. If you haven't already got him, grab him. It's not a figure I see talked about very much, or I've never seen him in any kind of ACBA articulated comic book art display. I mean, I know it's one of the more obscure characters, and that might be why, but if you ever see him at a good price, pick him up. Great figure. That's AOA Sunfire. And next up is Fearsome Foes Rhino. This Rhino figure was available in the Spider-Man Marvel Legends Fearsome Foes box set, along with a Spidey figure and a whole host of other villains. I think there was the Lizard and the Vulture were also in that box set. I may be forgetting other figures, but you get the point. I got this Rhino dirt cheap. I think it was £1. Largely, I guess most people were put off of him because he is missing his larger horn here, but as you can see, I am beginning to customize this figure, and reinstating that horn, sculpting a new horn for him will not be a problem at all. And what I'm working on with this figure, I just want to make him a bit more armoured up, pimped as they say. You may have seen there's the Spidey Classics Rhino and the Spidey Classics Ultimate Rhino, which are more armoured characters, but yet those two do lack the articulation that this Fearsome Foes figure has. So I have already started sculpting on these kind of, I guess, gauntlets or whatever you would call them, both around the wrists and legs there, and I will also be sculpting some kind of shoulder armour onto him. And the inspiration for the armour comes straight out of the Marvel Universe handbook. As you can see there, I have all volumes. I think there are 12 volumes of these. I have all 12 of them. And Marvel to this day are printing updates to these handbooks that you can still get periodically. My set of handbooks date to the late 80s when I first got into reading comic books, and if you've never seen the handbooks, they do kind of provide picture and a lot of origins of the characters, some significant scenes of artwork of characters in action, lists all their powers, their bio, statistics, stuff like that. But that's what I'm aiming for my look for Rhino here. But for me as a fan, when I picked these up as a kid, these handbooks were great because I got to read through them about the history of all the Marvel characters without kind of having to invest in a whole heap of back issues. You can actually still get this original handbook. I think it is available in kind of black and white reprint, all 12 volumes. So that's what I'm aiming for Rhino here. I've kind of started him. I would imagine maybe this time next week I'll have him finished. So also stay tuned for that one. You'll see a pimped out, armoured up Rhino coming soon. And last up, I could say last but not least, but probably in this case that's not quite true. I picked up these Happy Meal toys. This is where I show myself off to be the crazy bag lady of action figure collecting. As you can see, we have French fries here, a milkshake, quarter pounder. These date back to the late 80s, as you can tell by the styrofoam style container McDonald's used back then, which put a great big hole in the ozone layer and will likely give us all skin cancer. And they're Transformers. Not the most elaborate transformations, but Transformers nonetheless. That is a dinosaur, if you're wondering what the hell that is. Oh, his tail pops out as well. There you go. He's the Grimlock of the team, I guess you would say. And I guess, I mean, this now, I mean, interestingly, all Happy Meal toys are connected to some kind of movie or TV license. But these date back to a more innocent time when McDonald's trod carefully the legal minefield and ripped Transformers off without actually having to pay them any kind of license fee. I just thought they were cute. That's those guys. Anywho, that completes this episode of Confessions of an ebayaholic. I thank you all for watching. Please comment, rate, subscribe, and please check out my contests. Please enter. Check out the announcement video on my channel. Contest ends May 31st, so check out all the details and please enter. And just for fun, I'm going to bring in my Grimlock. Quick comparison of the two. Grimlock, think you stupid.